And we got another great story coming up right now. I want you to think about this. Do you find yourself struggling to make changes in your life that you've been seeking to do for a long time? Are you feeling weighed down by your past, your mistakes, or maybe the mistakes of someone else? Well, our next Unstuck speaker, Rakale Hanna, has been there. After spending several years brainwashed in a religious cult, she escaped to find a way to freedom. Once free only in body, she discovered before she had such an uphill battle of self-recovery, married by grief, unresolved trauma, and the challenge of society lacking empathy. So Rakale has developed the skills that will share insights on how to harness that power and the power of change. So you too can free your life from the effects of any hard experience or pattern. You too can get unstuck. So let's give it up for Rakale Hanna, everybody. Make a little noise. Good job.
When I was a girl each week, Sunday we would go to church, pay attention to the priest, and he would read the holy word, consecrate the holy bread, and everyone would kneel and bow. Today the only difference is everything is holy now. Everything is holy now. Yes, it is. When I was a girl each week, Sunday we would go to church. And as a young child, I absolutely loved singers. But I had no idea that I was a singer. I would go to whoever had the solo that Sunday, and I would say, "Sing it again just for me," after each service. And as I would get older, I would watch Whitney Houston movies. We were raised as preacher's kids, so we weren't allowed to listen to anything but gospel music, but I found a workaround to watching Whitney Houston in movies. I could listen to other music that way. And I would push play, watch her sing a few notes, pay close attention to every detail on her face, hit pause, and go sing the song in front of the mirror, trying to make every single face she made. I loved singers, and I imagined myself as a singer one day on the big stages, on Broadway, or as a multi-platinum recording artist. But I never imagined that I would get to my adult years and look back and realize that I hadn't become a Broadway singer. I hadn't become a multi-platinum recording artist. I had actually become a cult survivor. I don't think anybody would ever daydream about being brainwashed, held outside of society by a sociopath. Our life journeys can take very unique turns. And I believe one of the reasons why we land in a place of stuckness, being stuck, is because we have one vision for our lives, and many times we end up looking back and seeing something else completely different. Anyone in this room, when you were a kid, you had an idea of your life, and things have just gone a little bit different? I'll tell you a little bit about my time in the cult, only because if I don't, you'll be asking yourself questions the whole time I'm speaking. But I'm here to give you some tips, some things that I've learned since I escaped, some things that I learned that helped me reclaim my life. Well, while I was there for 5 years. And it wasn't a situation where I went in and I said, "That guy's a cult leader." It was a Christian church, and I went in and we were praising God. And we were expanding our visions and seeking a path of righteousness, seeking to fulfill our purpose. But over the course of time, it became something much different. There were a portion of us that were closer to the leader, and those of us who were close to him ended up being brainwashed, and there against our wills. While I was there, I was assaulted. I was abused. The hardest thing, with everything that I look back, every time I look back, the hardest thing was the hunger. He intentionally withheld food from us, and we would go days without eating. I can remember this one particular time because of just the visceral experience of the moment for me, where I had gone 3 days without eating. And he sent his wife and a couple of the other females that were there to the grocery store to get some food. And there was food cooking in the kitchen, and I knew I was about to eat. And I was so excited to be able to eat a meal after 3 days. And they took time to prepare the meal, and we waited, and as they began to call for people to come in, they started with him, the cult leader, and then they began to feed the rest of us. And they came to me with one single boiled egg. They said, "We only have enough to give you this so that we can feed the children." I still remember what that felt like, and it was really hard. It's difficult being able-bodied, but not even being able to feed yourself because somebody has taken complete control over your life. Eventually, time would pass, and I would be sent away with another female in the church to Utah. We were both pregnant with the cult leader's children, and he sent us to Utah to place them for adoption and come back. Thankfully, the adoption agency knew that there was something wrong when 2 pregnant women got off the airplane with Bibles and full dresses. They knew that something was wrong, and eventually they were able to reach me and to convince me to escape, and I was able to escape at this time, but not before my daughter was placed for adoption. So once I had escaped, I believed that my life was over. I had lost all connection with family. I had lost the only family that would probably have loved me unconditionally and that I would have been able to love and move forward with my daughter. The only individual that I loved unconditionally would never be with me. And I didn't think there was anything to move forward to. I believed my life was over. But something happened along the way. Days would pass, and as we've heard, depression was there for me. Suicidal thoughts were there for me. When you believe your life is over, you don't want to live. But I kept moving forward. I kept taking one step after the other, and I had one night where I was on the floor crying in so much pain that I could not even express it. There were no words to express what I felt. But I saw 2 paths in front of me. See, I was raised by an unhealthy mother. And she had been abused, and she had actually been hungry in her childhood. And she had suffered a lot. And what I witnessed in her journey was a path of bitterness. That she had taken the dark road. She had succumbed to the emotional trauma of her past. And I knew that that was in front of me. I knew she could be me if I didn't choose a different path. And I made a conscious choice to go the other way. I didn't have a name for it. I didn't know what the other path was, but I knew I wanted something different. That was about 6 months after I had escaped, and that choice became the foundation for a much better journey than what was before me. And so I would tell you that no matter where you are right now, no matter the circumstance that you're in right now, whether it's as big as what I've described, whether you are dealing with sickness that you don't know where it's going to land, you don't know where it's going to end, whether you've lost a loved one, I had a friend pass away last Friday unexpectedly of a heart attack. And there's just something completely unsettling to know that you care about someone and you will never speak to them again. And we've all experienced loss of some level, regardless of what it is that you're facing. Make a choice for a better life. Getting unstuck begins with choice. simple choice to say, I can give up or I can get up. Which path will you choose? For me, the next step was something that one of my mentors spoke about. She says, get a bigger vision. And I don't know about you, but I couldn't see anything bigger than what I had lived through. I couldn't see how you get bigger than that. But the reality is, no matter what you're faced with right now, there is a bigger vision awaiting you. And I'd have to say that you are my bigger vision. Being in front of you today is part of the decision that I made to be able to heal my life to the point where I could give even just a morsel of insight to someone else. We have Dana here who has a vision of speaking, and that can be the bigger vision. Cheryl shared with us her vision of ending up helping animals to rescue. And I love seeing her post all the time about the animals that she is saving. Getting a bigger vision than what the circumstance is, a bigger vision than what the pain is, will help you transform your experience with life. And I would say the final tip and the final thought that I'll leave with you today is trust. See, many times we don't move forward in our journeys and in our lives because we don't see the how. How does someone who has now, after escaping the cult, PTSD, social anxiety, no family, the how to move forward? When I would show up to build relationships with people, but I had been withheld from society for so long that I didn't have the same normal social cues or comfort that the average person does. It can be difficult to believe that there can be restoration and there can be new life. But it is available to all of us, to each of us, if we will pursue it. But we have to take our steps in trust. Darren shared with us a portion of my favorite quote. He said, take the first step. My favorite quote is by Dr. Martin Luther King. I'm a life coach, and I share this with all of my clients because I find that most of the times when people come to me stuck in their lives, they come to me stuck because they're not taking any action. So part of the path of trusting is moving forward. Martin Luther King said, take the first step in faith. You don't have to see the whole staircase. Just take the first step. What could we create with our lives if we decided to take the first step? When I'm coaching my clients, I always tell them, if you're going up a flight of 20 stairs, do you get from the first step to the last step in one step? What's the answer? No. You take 20 steps, or for some who are adventurous, you take 10, depending on how you climb your steps. But the catch is just to remember that you might not actually be able to see what's behind the door at the top of the staircase. The idea is to take the first step. And most of us, if I leave you with anything today, I want you to think about what your first step would be. Whatever that vision is in your mind, whatever the changes that you want to make, maybe healing your relationship means opening a difficult conversation. Maybe it is going to your first Toastmaster group or reaching out to a life coach for support. Get it in your mind. What's your first step? And then make a commitment to take it. Because I promise you, going from that day I escaped the cult, when I got on the plane, I actually thought the plane was going to crash because I was on it. I was that brainwashed to believe that I could not leave without God striking me down. Going from that version of myself to this version, who can stand before you confidently, sharing my story with you. It started with one single step. So I encourage you to take your steps and to trust that if you take those steps, they'll help you get unstuck and allow you to move forward with creating the life that you've always dreamed of. Thank you.
That was awesome, Rakale. Thanks. Darren said it perfectly. We all get stuck. We all have stuff that we go through. None of us escape life without going through some sort of trials. And I just want to say that I've gone from a place, kind of times of loneliness, to this stage, and don't I have some really awesome friends? Aren't these stories amazing? I am really blessed to be able not only to have them speak on the stage, but to be able to call them friends too.